You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
Okay, all right. So welcome. Okay, everybody, hi. Okay, let's get started. Okay, my name is Stacy Rossetti, and I have been investing in self-storage for 5 years now. I've been investing in real estate for 10 years, a little bit over 10 years, and I've been teaching people how to invest in real estate for about 7 or 8 of those years, maybe. I'm the type of person that if I know something works, I'm going to share it with the world, right? So I'm an open book, and I love teaching. And actually, I really found out over the past couple of years, really how much I do love teaching. I've been teaching for a while, but it was on the beginning, it was really kind of a lot of one-on-one coaching and some workshops, but now I'm doing this coaching and I just really love it. It brings me a lot of joy. And so I'm here to help you on your storage investing business. Like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years, and we're going into our 5th year now, actually. So October of next year will be our 5th year. Finished with our 5th year. And we're in the process of buying our 11th storage facility tomorrow. It looks like tomorrow we're going to close. It was supposed to close last week, but ended up being like anything in real estate. You guys tell me if y'all are in the real estate investing world, but anything in investing is always like the 11th hour. And when you're trying to close a deal. So of course, last week, a couple of things came up. Luckily, we got to, we figured all those out, and we're going to close tomorrow. So that'll be number 11. I don't know how much storage facility square footage I have. I have no idea. I don't know how many units of doors I have. Honestly, I kind of lost count. And so I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, oh, God, 100,000 square feet of, storage facilities or anything like that. I just don't do that. Right. So for me personally, storage investing is a means to an end. Okay, the product, a storage facility, is only a product to me. Just like when I was doing rehabbing, a house was really only just a house to me. It wasn't like this thing that I just loved and cherished or whatever. So a storage facility is a means to the end. For me, my end is spending as much time as I possibly can with my daughter, Lillian, who's 5 years old, and my husband, Pete, who is the manager of all of our facilities. So my personal goal is to spend as much time as I possibly can with them. And really, I don't want to miss anything with my daughter at all. So we basically live together in a tiny RV. We travel the country together and we manage our storage facilities. So for everybody here that already knows me, you kind of know that story. But so for us, I invest in self-storage for the purposes for lifestyle by design. All right. So some people out there in the investing world, they teach you how to invest in real estate or invest in storage investing as a business. Like you want to 1031 exchange everything and grow bigger and bigger. And you want 50, 100, $200 million worth of storage, right? And that's awesome for some people. That's just not how I am. Essentially, for me personally, it's all about owning as much as I possibly can, but doing the least amount of work that I possibly can. That's my personal goal. And actually, you guys tell me what your goals are. I would love to hear what your goals are in the chat, in the comments. Please go ahead and just let me know what your goal is. Why are you interested in self-storage? It's because I love to hear other people's stories. And so this is actually a really good segue to the announcement that this live webinar that I do every single Monday is also now a podcast. All right. So we are going to be releasing our first podcast, if not this week, next week. And we are also going to make it into the Storage Nerds podcast. So I'm really excited about that. So as I address you guys that are listening, through my webinar, I will also be addressing the people that are listening through the podcast because they may be listening, later at a later time. And so again, I appreciate everybody for hanging in there and listening to me, getting to know me. I am here to help you get started, get your foot in the door in self-storage investing. We started out with like very small storage facilities. And now as we grow and get bigger and bigger, the bigger the storage facilities get. Okay. Right. And we will be 1031 exchanging some of our facilities into bigger facilities. There's not anything wrong with that. Right. And we will be 1031 exchanging some of them into different types of, property or whatever we're going to do. But our overall goal is not to have $200 million worth of storage. Our overall goal is to work as little as possible, to travel, and to spend as much time as we can with our daughter Lillian. But she's just so cute right now, and I really just don't want to miss anything that she's doing. Like literally everything that she's doing, I'm just like, oh, just love you so much. I just want to spend as much time as I possibly can with her. And when I'm not with my husband and Pete, I'm the type of person, like when I'm not with them, I feel like part of me is missing. Right. That's just how I feel. So it's best. We work best as a family. We really do. We work best together as a family. And so that's just kind of our goal. Okay, good. So today I see that we have a lot of people hanging out with us. So I appreciate you guys all hanging out. We've got people from Alabama. We have people that are from Charlotte. We have Charles from Birmingham. We've got some students coming on. I'm trying to find the best real estate investment that will somehow be passive income and trying to provide a return that will support me and my retirement. Totally doable. Totally doable, because this is exactly what we do, right? So storage investing for us is a product that we own that provides us the lifestyle that we want, right? And so whatever that journey is for you, whatever those goals are for you, storage investing can totally do this. And you can start. There's nothing wrong with you starting with a small facility and working your way up to whatever size facility that you want. And this past weekend, we did what we call driving for storage, right? So if everybody follows me, you guys all know that this is how I find our facilities. And I took a whole handful, there's like 10 of us that went out and we went driving for storage on our infill training day. This is part of the coaching program that we have for Storage Nerds. And we went out, we went to like 10 or 12 different storage facilities. It was awesome. It was like so many different types of storage facilities. We had we found a warehouse that was abandoned, and it was on like 15 acres, and it would be a perfect place to either do a conversion or knock it down and build some more if you wanted to do that. And then we found like truck parking. So when I teach storage investing, we always talk about like parking as well too. So we found like a huge lot that's all they do is just park tractor trailers. And it looked like it was like not doing very well, like kind of abandoned. So we stopped by that and took a look at it and like kind of assessed, how many tractor trailers we could put there. If you can put a tractor trailer there, then you could put a whole lot of like boat and RV there as well too. So that land was like prime, perfect, right in a little tiny town that was like, it's like a northeastern type of town that you could just like fence in and just put some boat and RV storage. And it's already, commercial property. It's already zoned for parking, so why not get out there and buy that property, fence it in, and then park some boat and RVs there as well. We found like don't keep in mind when you look for storage too as well. And the reason I took them to so many different types of facilities, because I want you to keep in mind all the different ways you can invest in self-storage. And like one of the facilities that we went to, it was like a very big franchise where they owned probably 10 or 12 different storage facilities. And, also but they owned them kind of in the southern part of New York, and maybe the eastern part near like Philadelphia, kind of in the and the bigger like secondary towns is where they kind of like owned all their facilities. But then they had this one like random storage facility, like an hour to 2 hours away from all their other storage facilities. Like it was totally out of the way. And when you think of like managing a storage facility, right? Your manager can manage X amount of storage facilities, 1,000 doors, right? Let's say on average 1,000 doors. One manager can manage 1,000 doors. And so you kind of really should be like plotting those so that they're near each other, so that he's not having to drive 45 minutes this way and then 45 minutes that way and 45 minutes this way, right? And so this one was literally like an hour, hour and a half away from all the other storage facilities. And so that'd be a great, if you're looking for storage and you're like, okay, this, because a lot of my students basically said, well, that they already own like 10 facilities. Why would they sell? And my answer to that was because this one is literally totally causing them pain and suffering, because they just have that one boots on the ground person or that one operations person that's managing that facility. So sometimes you could look at facilities that way. We have one like this as well too. Like we have like 4 or 5 within maybe like a 45 minute, like 30 to 45 minutes of each other. And then we have this one that's like an hour and a half, like just totally out of the way. And it's just kind of a pain in the butt. And so our idea is to really sell that one, because it really is taking our boots on the ground person an hour and a half to get there, all day to work there, and then an hour and a half back or whatever. And it's just kind of like it's not fun for him, So take into consideration that when you look for storage. Another one that I took them to is there's another storage facility that owns also like 10 or 15 storage facilities in the area. But this one facility, like some of their most of their facilities are like four stars to 5 stars, right? On their reviews. Like, this is an awesome facility. It's great. And then we went to one facility where it was like 3 stars, like less than 3 stars, like almost barely 3 stars, like 2.75. And so basically I was telling them that there's always, and we have this too, we have this one facility that's just annoying. Like, for some reason, it's just like every once in a while get some sort of like horrible review or something, and it's like, just dump that sucker off, because it's bringing everybody else down. Right. So when you look at storage facility owners that have a lot of storage facilities, if they're getting bad reviews, maybe they'll want to dump that one off. The one that we just bought in Florida, like maybe 2 months ago, that one, the owner owned 3 different storage facilities. 2 of them were right around the corner from their house. And then the one that we bought was like 45-minute drive. And so they just sold that. They said, this one is just too much for us to handle. And they just sold it to us. So my point is that I was trying to take all my students out and show them all the different types of storage facilities out there, and all the ways that you can look at storage, or you can look at land, or you can look at warehouses, or whatever you can look at, and just keep your mind open to everything, and keep your eye open to like these little tiny like other ways that you can look at deals that you can find, because there are a lot of facility owners that might want to dump 1 or 2 facilities just because it's kind of like causing them a little bit of pain. Okay. All right. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, today I wanted to talk about wholesaling self-storage, because I do coaching calls with my students on Mondays, all Monday afternoons. I do coaching students, which is one of my favorite days. And we have one guy, and I don't know if he's on here or not. Let me see. Are you listening in tonight? Let's check and see. He's not here today. Okay. One of my students. And he has a great deal that would be a good deal if you add it on. So it's an okay deal. Right? It's just like, it's an income producing property. And he got it under contract for $600,000, and it's worth $600,000. Right? So it's basically just an income producing property. There's a little bit of space to add more units. Right? And if he added those units, and I think it was like 100 units, then that would like almost double the value. I mean, it was like double the value, if not more, from $600,000 to like $1.8 million. If he spent $250,000, $300,000 to build these units, and he would have a facility that's worth like 1.8 plus which I know this facility very, very well because I have a facility just like this. I bought a facility. I tell them this is exactly the same type of deal. But you have to know that going into a deal like that, you have to add units. And he does not want to do that. I mean, he just doesn't want to do it. So he wants to buy just an income producing property that's like ready to go. And it's like maybe it's 75% full, or maybe it's 100% full, but the rates are really low or something like that. That's just really what he wants. But essentially it's a very good deal, and somebody out there will want to buy this deal. Somebody will want to buy it. All right. So I want to make sure that he doesn't pass up this deal. He cannot pass this deal up. So I'm telling him that he needs to get that deal under contract and wholesale it. He needs to get the deal under contract and wholesale it. Okay, that is what he needs to do. So now the question is, what is wholesaling? All right, what's wholesaling? So that's what I wanted to get into today. Is my personal opinion is you never want to pass up a deal that could be a good deal. That's an okay deal. For you, it's an okay deal, but for them, maybe it's a good deal, right? And I got off a coaching call with another student that he's wholesaling storage. And I told him exactly the same thing. Is like, even if these, because he's getting a lot of deals coming in, right? People say you can't find deals. He's getting so many deals. He just handed off like eight or nine deals to a couple students in the group. And so he was getting in some deals, and the students that he handed those deals off, they passed on those. And they said, even if a student passes on those deals, somebody else may want to buy them. All right. So don't ever think that just because one person doesn't want to buy it. And also another thing too, is that the lender that was going to fund this deal, that was the one that was just exactly like mine. The lender that was going to fund that deal, he's talked to two lenders, and I mean, essentially they're requiring 20 to 25% down because of the numbers, because like the numbers are just as is, the numbers are okay. So they're requiring a bigger down payment. He's like, I don't want to do a bigger down payment. So that's another reason why he's passing up the deal. But just because those two lenders say that it's a bad deal doesn't mean it's a bad deal. Those lenders may be like ultra conservative. You know what I'm saying? They may not be the right lender for you as well too. So in the case where you're like, I know this could be a good deal, but it's just not the deal that I want, which is a lot of deals that you'll come across, then don't pass up a good deal. Let's get it under contract and let's wholesale it. Okay. So I wanted to just get into what is wholesaling and how can you wholesale self-storage. Now let's hear from everybody that's in the chat or the comments. Can you please do me a favor and put like, yeah, I've wholesaled deals before. I understand what wholesaling is, or I have no idea what wholesaling is at all. What is it? I've never even heard of it before. So I can get kind of a gauge on who's wholesaling and who isn't wholesaling. I would love to hear that. Okay. Okay, good. Charles says no clue what it is. Good. I love it. I love it when I get to teach new stuff. Okay. All right. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen. So for everybody that's listening on the podcast, obviously you won't be able to see the screen, but I'll talk you through everything. And you can always go and check it out on YouTube later if you want to do that. So what is wholesaling? Wholesaling is basically when you are the middle person between the buyer and the seller. Okay? You are the middle person between the buyer and the seller. So this is you in the middle, right? And you have the buyer on the right, and you have the seller on the left. Okay. And essentially the way it works is you're going to, when you start getting out there and really marketing for storage and looking for storage, you're going to come across deals that just are not perfect for you, but you don't want to pass those up. Don't be afraid of saying, look, I think this is a good deal. I know somebody's going to want to buy this. I'm just not the person that's going to buy this. All right. Because when people are buying stuff at crazy prices right now. All right, they're buying stuff at crazy prices, low cap rates and everything. So like if you do come across a seller that wants to sell, don't pass up somebody that wants to sell. And that if you can at least get at like, a good, at a good number. If it's a crazy number, well, then of course nobody's going to buy it. But somebody might want, if you can get it at a reasonable price, then somebody might want to buy it. Okay, so the way that it works is you as the person in the middle, you're the one that's doing all the marketing, talking to all the sellers, talking and trying to find somebody that wants to sell. All right, so that's your job, is to talk to people and to get them to try to sell. You make the offer, right? And once you make the offer, the seller is going to accept or not accept. And if they do accept, you're going to put it under contract, right? You're going to put that property under contract for a certain number. So let's just say you call up an owner and you talk to the owner, and the owner says that he wants to sell his storage facility for $1 million. And you say, oh, $1 million, that's a great deal. I'm going to put this thing under contract. All right. So so you're basically putting a facility under contract for $1 million. You have the contract with the seller. Okay. And then once you get it under contract, now your due diligence period or your inspection period or your the period that you need in order to find the buyer, right, is going to probably be somewhere between 90 and 120 days, right? So you give yourself several months to be able to go out and find a buyer, and then allow the buyer to be able to close on that property in the amount of time that they need to close. So if you go out and find a buyer for that property and they're going to go to a bank, that bank is probably going to need 90 days to close. So you give yourself, a 30 days to get out there and find the buyer, and then you give yourself another 90 days for that buyer to close. So typically between 90 and 120 days is what you're going to put the contract under, right? So just so you know, so it's 90 to 120 days contract to close is what it's going to look like, okay? And so you are not a licensed realtor, right? Most of us anyways, we're not licensed realtors. All right, so by law, you cannot sell somebody else's property. Now, in some states, right, there's several states, I think Oklahoma and Indiana, maybe. I don't know which states, actually. We could just Google it, and anybody can Google it, and we could tell you which states. It is illegal to wholesale. I think there's 4 or 5 states. So there's not a lot, but there's 4 or 5 states that it's illegal to wholesale. So make sure that you find out which states those are. And if anybody post that in the chat, if they know by chance, you can't do it in this state, then just let us know. And I can't remember which ones they are, honestly, but there are, I think, 4 or 5 states where you cannot wholesale. Okay. But all the other states you can wholesale. And what that means is that you are not licensed, and you're not licensed to buy the property. But you're not licensed to sell the property. You're not licensed to sell the property. But what you do is you give yourself equitable interest in the property when you're purchasing it. You give yourself what's called equitable interest, okay? Equitable interest. Okay. And you'll do that by putting down earnest money on the property. Now you can have $10, $100, $1,000. Usually, typically it's 1%. All right. Just so everybody knows, typically it's 1%, but it could be less. It could be more. Okay. So let's just say 1%. You want to give yourself some sort of equitable interest in the deal, and you do that by putting down earnest money. Okay, that is how you're able to wholesale your deals. Okay, if that makes sense, let me know. If it doesn't, just put the questions in the chat and we'll make sure to get those. Okay. Okay, so now I put the offer in. I put the offer in for $1 million, and I gave myself 4 months to find a buyer. And I made sure that I put the million, you know, the 1% is equity. Okay, so now I have equitable interest in this deal. Now I can go out and try to find a buyer for the deal. Okay. And so that is where you're going to create what's called a like marketing package, a wholesaling package. Okay. So a marketing package. And this marketing package on the commercial side is completely different from the residential side. We're picky. On the commercial side, we're picky. We want you to do all the work. All right. And so I'll get into what the marketing package entails in just a few minutes, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows. So then what happens, let's just say you put this marketing package together, and then you go out and you like post it out in Facebook groups and you say like, hey, I got a great deal. Is anybody interested? And I'm sure if you're a member of like Facebook groups, if you're a member of like storage Facebook groups, like you should be a member of our Storage Nerds Facebook group, right? Then you'll see these types of posts coming up, right? Somebody's always pitching their deal that they have under contract. Those people are wholesalers. Those are wholesalers trying to wholesale somebody else's property, okay? And so you'll get out and you'll start pitching it. And then what will happen is that you'll get a buy. You'll find people that are interested, like, hey, send me the information or whatever. What I do usually when I wholesale deals is like, I don't randomly just send out information to anybody and everybody, because you'll get like everybody, you want information, right? And it's just like, I don't like to just randomly send it out to people that are just like, maybe interested, maybe not interested. They just want to see the deal or whatever, see how you put the deal together or whatever, So what I do personally, now you don't have to do this, but what I do personally is I let everybody know that I have a deal that I'm going to be wholesaling. I have it under contract. Great deal. It's in this market, whatever market that it's in. And if you're interested, please sign up for this 30-minute webinar where I go over the deal, right? So I do like a pitching webinar is what I do. Because you know me, I like webinars. I'm always doing webinars. So I just do a webinar. That's just kind of how I do it. What you also could do to pitch this deal is you could do a video, like a pre-recorded video about the deal, and then post it out, and then you could see if anybody's really truly interested in the deal, right? So you could do videos, like pre-recorded videos as well too. There's a lot of different ways that you could do it. I've seen a couple of wholesalers as well. What they've done is they have a website with like a back office. So they'll give you like a login. They'll say, okay, you're interested? No worries. All you have to do is like fill this web form out. Why do they make you fill the web form out? Because they want to get your information so they can put you into their system so that they can email blast you any deals that they have later, right? So that's really what they do. So they'll say like, fill this web form out. And then once you fill it out, you'll have access to the back office. And then the back office, you'll have access to the system. Have access to the deal, right? All the really kind of like sophisticated wholesalers, they really create like a nice back office where they can collect your information, and then later they can email it out to you as well too. So I get emails for storage facilities from the wholesalers that I've opted into their systems, which is actually something that I would recommend for everybody to do, because then not only do you get to see the deals coming up, but also you get to see how people are wholesaling their deals as well too, and you get to learn from them. Okay. So once you're out there pitching this deal with this amazing wholesaling package, right? Then you're going to find a buyer, right? The buyer's going to be like, yeah, I'm totally interested. And then you guys are going to create a contract between you two, right? So this one, you have a contract between the seller and you, and you have a different contract between the buyer and you. Okay, so you can have two separate contracts. Now you could do this with an addendum if you wanted to as well too, but I like to do two separate contracts. It keeps it nice and clean. You're the buyer to the seller on this that contract, and then you're the seller to the buyer on the other contract. contract, right? So you're really just like flipping the names is what you're doing. Okay. And that is the bulk of wholesaling. You're the middle person. And now when you sell that deal, right, you're going to be selling it with you're going to either make a wholesale fee. Now on the smaller deals, I'd say like less than $1 million, I would say on average, you could get like a wholesale fee. Now even bigger deals, you could get a wholesale fee. I have a student right now where she's wholesaling a facility that's over $3 million. And she has the option of either getting a wholesale fee, which would be probably like 150 to 200 grand. So let's see, wholesale fee. Or she has the option of getting equity in the deal instead, right? Or you could get equity and equity percentage. Right? So you could wholesale a deal and not get like a chunk of change back. So you don't pay tag. Like if you're going to make 100, 200 grand, like you'd rather just get equity in the deal. And then that way you're paying taxes on like whatever you get on a quarterly basis instead of like this big, huge $150,000 paycheck that you're going to get. Because yes, you can make that much money on wholesaling self-storage. Okay. So when you wholesale it, you're going to wholesale it for a little bit more than what you put it under. And it could be anywhere from like, you could make 1% to 4% is typical numbers, right? Typical numbers in the industry. 4% being like a smaller deal, right? Up to 1% being a bigger deal. Okay. So like, the bigger the deal, the less money. Like if it's a $10 million deal, you're not going to get 4% or anything like this. You'll probably get like 1% or whatever. And if you have $1 million deal, you might be able to get, 4%, but some people only pay like, I've talked to others in the industry and asked around, like, what is a typical, what's a typical fee that you pay wholesalers or people that are doing acquisitions for you? And they're saying typically 1% to 2%, but they'll go up to 4%. Okay. Because 4% is what a realtor would make if they were like selling the deal. You know what I'm saying? If they were doing the deal, right? So a lot of times people are okay with that. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. So essentially you are the middle person between the seller and the buyer. That's wholesaling. And I think that it would be based on the value of the deal. Exactly, Jasmine. So yes, it's based on the value of the deal, but actually it's based on the value of the deal, but it's also based on like what the buyer and you agree to. It's all completely negotiable. It's completely negotiable. And what I say is don't be greedy, because you'll be able to get more deals like this. I'm telling you, you'll be able to get more deals. Like, don't be like, oh, I'm only going to do this deal if I make 100 grand or 200 grand or whatever, right? Sometimes I just wholesale the deal just to get it off my plate and move on to the next deal. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how you think about it. So don't just be like, okay, every deal I'm going to get 4%. You know what I'm saying? So it just doesn't work that way. Everything is negotiable, and it's really based on like, it's just a case-by-case deal. It's a case-by-case study. Okay. So that is the essence of wholesaling. It's really not difficult. I know for a lot of people are like, I don't know what Stacy's talking about right now. And I don't know. I just wanted to come in here and just do some storage investing. This is one of the 6 different ways that you can invest in self-storage, right? So if you follow me on a regular basis, I'm teaching the 6 different ways that you can invest in self-storage, one of them being wholesaling. So we're doing a deep dive into wholesaling today. And kind of really getting you to have your eyes open to other ways that you can invest in storage outside of just buying a property with 20% down, income producing property, and then you just make cash flow on it, right? So there's a whole plethora of ways that you can invest in self-storage. Okay. And okay, so now let's get into this marketing package, right? The marketing package. All right. When you think of putting together a marketing package, right? How are you going to market this deal that you have under contract? Right. the way that you put a marketing package together and the way that you think about it is whatever you need in order to make a decision on whether or not it's a good deal is the same exact things that the buyer's going to need. It's the same exact things that your lender's going to need. All right. So what you need to be doing to put a wholesale package together, and this is what I teach all my students, and this is what I do, is you really need like some sort of cloud-based program where you can start a folder. I use Google Drive is what I use, but you need to have a cloud-based system where you can start a folder, and that folder name is going to be like, Edmonton property, or whatever you want to call it. I usually call it the name of the city, I said Nashville or whatever, or, whatever it is. And you start that folder, and then inside that folder, you're going to have subfolders. All right. You're going to have subfolders. Those subfolders, what would you need? And you guys can start thinking about this. What do you need in order to decide whether or not it's a good deal? If you can think of anything, put it into the chat. If you were going to go out and buy a storage facility, what would you need in order to decide whether or not it's a good deal? Okay, that's the question of the day, because whatever you need is exactly what everybody else needs, right? Okay, so inside your folder in Google Drive, you are going to have, right? Let's just say, and it really honestly depends on what type of facility that you're buying. That you have under contract. If it's an income producing property, like you'll be able to get a lot of stuff because they'll be able to produce a lot of documents for you. But if it's a mismanaged facility, they may not be able to produce everything that you need. We're in the process of we're putting together like a $3.6 million facility. It's an income producing property where the owner puts everything into his ledger. Literally, he puts it into a ledger. All right. So this is a mismanaged property. So obviously we can't take the ledger and then put it into Google Drive, right? We just can't do that. Okay. So, but what my student did, because she's wholesaling this deal, what she did is she took pictures of the ledger, like every page. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. She took pictures of every page of the ledger, and then she put those pictures into Google Drive. So really, she had a folder she has a folder that looks like this, and it's like ledger pictures. Now, if it's and then she has then that's where all the pictures of the ledgers are. So we could go through and see. You need your P&L, you would need a P&L and a balance sheet if you have access to this. So let's put this down: P&L, balance sheet, right? You would need pictures of the facility, good pictures, not I'm driving by and taking a picture of the facility, but getting out and taking pictures, because actually some of those pictures may be used by the buyer later to for the website or something. So you want to give them nice pictures, not just crappy pictures. It frustrates me when people go and look at facilities and they're driving by. Even my acquisitions person, I was like, Chris, I need good pictures. My lenders don't want to see pictures of you sitting in a car and you see the car window or something. So really good pictures. Because you're trying to make this storage facility shine. You're trying to pitch this storage facility to a buyer. Crappy pictures ain't going to work. When you go online to the MLS or you go onto Zillow and you see crappy pictures of property, what do? You just skip on past that one, right? And, if you want to buy it, you just skip it. I can't deal with that, if you're buying it or whatever. So it's the same concept with commercial property. Also, videos of the property. You want to make sure you get very good videos of every single piece of the property, even the land, the vacant land. And also what's good is spanning out around so we can see what the whole world looks like around us. What does this property look like, from the ground, like, so really good videos. You are the eyes and ears for the buyer. So you want to make sure that you're getting everything that you possibly can for the buyer. Okay. You need a rent roll. Right? Now, sometimes with a mismanaged facility, they don't have a rent roll. I mean, actually, every facility we ever bought, there's like hardly any rent rolls. We just bought an income producing property like 2 weeks ago, and that one had a rent roll. But other than that, like that's the very first one we ever got that had one. So mismanaged properties, you do not get rent rolls, but income producing properties, you can get rent rolls. Okay. You want to get like the lay of the land. Right? What do the property borders look like? You want property borders. You want to be able to show, is there like room to grow on the property? Where are the boundaries of the property? Okay, so you could get like copies of surveys, plats, any type of easements, this kind of stuff. Okay. So like you want to get the land portion of it, right? Because us as storage facility owners, we want to know what type of opportunity we can raise the rents, right? Or we can add on. Okay, so we want to be able to see how we can do that. That goes back to competition. Can we raise the rents? I want to know when I'm purchasing a property, what does the competition look like? I want pictures of all the competition. I want to know what their facilities look like. I want to know what they're charging. So that's why, like on our deal analyzer for storage nerds that all the students get, there's a tab that's the competition tab. And this is where you get in and you start really going through and you put in line by line by line all the competition within, depending on if you're like 3 to 5 miles or 10 miles or however far you want to go out, right? All the competition, because that's how you're going to determine if you can raise the rates. Because when you make your executive summary, right? Executive summary, right? This is going to be like a PowerPoint presentation that you're going to make for everyone. When you make this executive summary or whatever PowerPoint presentation, whatever you want to call it, in there you're going to give like all the reasons why people should be buying this facility. So in your executive summary, in this nice presentation that you put together, you're pitching to everybody why this is a good deal, right? The investor pitch or the buyer's pitch, right? So with the fund that we're putting together, we had to put together an investor's, presentation. It's the same exact thing for wholesaling. I mean, you as a wholesaler, you're going to be pitching this deal to everybody. So you want to make this presentation. So in the presentation, you're going to have the executive summary. You're also going to have market data. This is where you want to put your market data. Is it a growing economy? Is it a declining economy? Is it stabilized? You want to have like a map, like a picture map of the entire town and where all the developments are. Where is it growing? Where is it growing? Where's the new areas? Or is it not growing or whatever? So really kind of like we have like in our presentation, we have like this kind of like map of the town, and we point out all of the different kind of like bigger companies and like developments and things like this. You want to show that, and then you want to also show the data of that town, right? And you can do that by using Radius Plus. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that you can get that market data. Okay. All right. So competition, and then also another thing that we need is we need the unit mix. The unit mix. And we need the deal analyzer. Okay, but the unit mix is essentially like, what are all the different types of units that they have and how much are they charging for each unit? So you want to make sure you have that on a spreadsheet or some way showing and, showing so that they can look at that and see that, because when they run their own deal analysis, they're going to have to need that, right? So for all deal analysis on storage investing, you need to be able to show unit mix. You must have this in order to make a decision. All right. And then the deal analyzer, whatever deal analyzer that you use, albeit from Storage Nerd or like any other one that you use, then you want to make sure that you have that deal analyzer in the Google Drive folder so that you can show them what the numbers are. And you'll also put the numbers into the executive summary and explain the numbers. But really, I like to just put that deal analyzer right in there. I put it as a PDF version, so I don't want them to have the actual deal analyzer. Then they can just take that and do whatever they want with it. But I put it in as a PDF. And then they can go through and they can look at all the different numbers and like take their deal analyzer, whatever one they use, and they can run the numbers based on what we have in the deal analyzer. Okay, so that is really the marketing package. Can anybody think of anything else that I'm missing? But this is exactly what I would need personally in order to figure out if it's a good deal or not. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I look at. So, and there might be some odds and ends stuff that comes up or whatever, but like essentially, this is what you need in order to determine whether or not the deal is a good deal. And it's also what you need in order to create an awesome marketing package for your wholesale, for the deal you're going to wholesale. And this is exactly the same things that your lender is going to need if you find a deal and they are going to want to fund the deal. This is what they're going to ask for. And on top of that, this is exactly what your buyer is going to need if they want to buy the deal from you. This, and this is like what your partners are going to need. So essentially, when I talk about how to wholesale a deal, step one is learning how to wholesale, right? And understanding the concept of wholesaling. And step two is putting this package together. But this package is exactly what you're going to need in order to determine if you want to keep the deal or wholesale the deal. Okay. So that is wholesaling in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions about that? And then remember what I said was that once you get this deal under contract with the buyer, it's their job to find the money. And, and then you could always be like, you'll be the middle person that talks to the seller and make sure you get all the stuff from them, whatever they need. If they ask for odds and ends and stuff like this. So you'll be that middle person that's kind of doing all that. And then you'll help them to just take it through all the way to closing. All right. And really get that thing closed. Like I'm buying this one from this wholesaler now. And like I said, this thing that came up last week, I was like, what? This thing came up? This should have come up like months ago. I was like totally pissed about it. And so then the wholesaler stepped in and he just like started working his magic and he took care of the entire thing so that we could close tomorrow. And so a wholesaler is there. If you're going to be wholesaling a deal, your job is to make sure the deal gets closed. Just like if you were a realtor, you'd be the person in the middle, like, putting up with all the BS that goes on trying to close the deal. Same thing that a wholesaler does. But the difference is that wholesaling on the commercial side, you can make a lot of money or you can get some equity split. Right? As a wholesaler, you could get a part of the deal. As a realtor, you can't get a part of the deal. Like you only can make your fee and that's it. And then you got to share your fee with the broker. As a wholesaler, you could be like, hey, I found this deal. You want it? Let me have a little cut, and I'll give you this deal. See, that's why I never got my real estate license. So I could do stuff like that. Pretty cool, huh? Let's see what kind of questions we have. Q&A right now. Let's go for it. When you have no rent rolls, what do you use? Their taxes. I forgot to put taxes on there. Why don't we put taxes? Put tax returns on that list. That's my fault. Put tax returns on that list. If you can get tax returns, that would be awesome. Okay. And so P&L, rent roll, balance sheet, tax returns. That's typical stuff that you would ask for if it's an income producing property. Now, if it's a mismanaged property, you probably won't be able to get tax returns. I mean, sometimes, but not really, honestly, not really. So on a mismanaged facility, you're not going to be able to take your deal to a bank to get a loan. So you're going to have to learn how to raise money. All right. That is what mismanaged properties, that's the hard part about mismanaged properties, is that if it's a mismanaged property, now if it's like let's say 75% are full, you should be able to get tax returns, but if it's like less than 75%, like typically I buy stuff that's like 50% or less full. Most of the time, they're just not, they're just pocketing that money. So they're not going to have anything to show for it. Okay. So try to get tax returns if you can. If you can't, then you have to know that when you're wholesaling the deal, you're wholesaling it to somebody that has cash of their own, or they know where they can get private lending, because going to a bank is just not going to work. Now, what they'll do is they'll come and they'll bring the cash in. They'll partner with somebody to bring cash in, whatever they're going to do. And then in a year, maybe in 18 months, they'll just refi it out and they'll get it into a real bank loan once they get that thing up and running and they can show some income. All right. But if you're buying a property, or if you want to wholesale a property that has no way of showing how much money they're coming in, but it's a good deal based on the opportunity that it could be posing, then you know that you're going to have to find a private lender or fund it yourself in order to do that type of deal. Okay. All right. Good question. Okay. If you can't find a buyer, are you on the hook for the $1 million? I can't afford $1 million. Are you getting multiple people together to buy your property? No. So basically, when you put the thing under contract, you're giving yourself like what you call a due diligence period or inspection period. And that during that time is the time that you can take to find a buyer. So if you do an inspection, like as I say, you close in 120 days and you do an inspection period of 120 days or 90 days, you have that much time in order to find a buyer. So you want your inspection period or due diligence period to be as long as it possibly can, right? So inspection periods in commercial real estate, really you can do like 60, 90 days, really. And the bigger projects take forever to close. They just do, right? And typically people are okay with doing like 90 days of closings and like 90 days of, I've never had anybody say like, oh, no, I only want you to have 10 days of due diligence, right? You really need to have like 30 days to 60 days or longer of due diligence. And then you put your closing date to that time. Okay. Now, when you're doing like super huge, big income producing properties, they may not allow you to have that much time, but they will give you at least 30 to 60 days typically. And that would be your period of when you would go out and find that buyer. So you just but as a wholesaler, you got to be rocking and rolling. You can't be like, I got 60 days. Let me just fiddle for it around. It's like, because you're going to need that time to get out there and pitch to find that buyer. Okay, great question. Let me see. Here's one. Okay, so taxes are okay in server housing. Yes, taxes are definitely great. Yes, taxes are good. As much information as you possibly can. If it's an income producing property, you should be able to buy this. You should be able to find this. Okay, but if it's a mismanaged property, you might not be able to get any information. So then that you've got to find somebody to buy that with cash. Okay. So what I say too is if you get out there and you start looking for deals, you're doing all the things I tell you on how to find deals, and you come across one that you're just like, I just don't think this is something that I could possibly do. Contact me. I will help you to find a buyer. I promise. All right. So there's so many, and just as long as it's a good deal, if it's a crappy deal, then, it's way too high, then obviously nobody's going to buy it. But if you do come across something that's it's a reasonable deal, but this is just too much, or it's not what I'm looking for, maybe it's a mismanaged facility and you only want income producing properties, we still want to put that thing under contract. Contact me. We can partner. We can do what's called co-wholesaling. And I can help you to find a buyer for that deal, because I got a lot of people that want to buy storage facilities right now. Okay. And let's see. Let me see. What about the property? what about a property that is offered along with other items? He's offered apartments and a club because it's all in one thing. All right, cool. So it's the same kind of concept. You still need to learn how to run commercial deal analysis. Okay. But you have 3 separate products. Like you can't be like, all right. And like I just talked to a student earlier where he has a storage facility and 6 houses that he rents out. He wants to sell all those. Okay. And so he said that he knows he makes $425,000 a year, but he's not 100% sure like how much money the houses make versus the storage. So like you need to be able to separate that money out. Rental income or, that kind of income is separate income from storage income. And the reason why is because you want to know what the price per square foot is in the storage world versus the apartment world. It's 2 separate, like you can't combine that because then it skews the numbers on what your opportunity could be. So you're going to have to separate all that out. So if he has a storage facility, how much is he making per year? He has an apartment building, how much is he making per year? And if he has like a club or whatever you said, how much is that making per year? That's what you really need to know. Okay. All right. Okay, good. All right. Well, and also I wanted to make sure everybody just remembers that the wait list to Storage Nerds is opening up on January 4th. All right. The wait list is opening up on January 4th, and it's going all the way until the doors close on January 21st. And so if you want to get on the wait list to talk to me about my coaching program, Storage Nerds, then you need to get on the wait list, which I think Arielyn can post out in all the comments. And we'll make sure that we post out in all the transcripts and stuff for the podcast. I can't remember what the link is. And so, like I said, the coaching program is opening up for a couple of weeks. I only open it up 3 times a year. That's it. And then because during the time that it's not opened, I'm focusing on helping my students get storage facilities under contract and that, and helping them get that deal closed. Okay. So that's coming up is the Storage Nerds doors are opening, and I'm looking forward to that. And then also for everybody in the meantime, if you're interested, then you also have access to Super Simple Self-Storage. Super Simple Self-Storage is my online course. So if you're the type of person like, hey, I just want to go it alone, or like, hey, I want to get started now, but I'm waiting for the coaching program to open, make sure that you please check out Super Simple Self-Storage, and you can get that there. And you can just get all that by just going to stacyrossetti.com. So let me pull this up real fast. And then here is where you're able to find Storage Nerds, is where you can get on the wait list. And then the online course is where you can sign up for the online course. And then we do have the boot camp coming up, but only students can come to my boot camp. My boot camp is January 22nd and 23rd, which is right here, Getting Started in Self-Storage. And that's on January 22nd and 23rd. That's 2 full days of getting started in self-storage. I'm going to take you through everything so you get out there and start rocking and rolling, okay? But only students of Storage Nerds can attend that, okay? So lots of good things coming up. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I look forward to seeing you guys and talking to you guys the next week for the next session. All right. Take care and have a good night.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.